welcome to our home, to the new Brinery.
With Dominic now. Out of ex-Utero.
Now with Dominic, ex-Utero.
Now featuring Dominic.
But yeah, no, we're really happy to get back to hosting things. It's been good to have a break, but also good to get back into the swing of things a little bit. But yeah, so tonight we're going to have Adriana read her piece from the latest Snickle. And then we'll have a little discussion about that, and then we'll move into a discussion of like the whole issue. If you guys have any favorites, how you have things like that. So yeah, Adriana is a teacher here in the Triangle at St. Thomas More Academy in Raleigh. She's been teaching there for 4 years now, history and literature. And she is currently working on her master's in creative writing. So everyone please give a warm welcome to Adriana. Okay,
on the stairs. Okay.
On the stairs
Okay. All right. I'm a little short. I'll go on the stairs. Okay. So I just as I guess a bit of background, I wrote this really quickly at the end of a kind of a long day of work, and at our school we show a lot of silent films to kids, which is really great. It's not something I had really like partaken of or enjoyed myself until I was a teacher there, and I was supposed to show them to the students, and I found they're actually like really beautiful and meaningful and free on YouTube a lot of the time, which is really nice. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'd seen a few of them, especially Charlie Chaplin films, several times. And then kind of at the end of this one long day, there are a lot of long days, I think, teaching, and I love it. But yeah, I got home and I felt like I needed something not really to distract me, but to console me, I guess, in a more meaningful way. And I didn't really know why, but I put on one of these Charlie Chaplin films that I had seen before, and yeah, I just saw it a lot differently, or something different about it stood out to me that time that hadn't before. So I kind of quickly wrote this, and then I don't know, I was trying to think of discussion questions for it afterwards. I was like, what did I really mean to say here? And I concluded I don't know, but I'm just gonna read it, and then if you have thoughts, that's good. The more I read it, the more I was confused, but it's fine. That's fine. It's fine. It'll be good on the first hearing. It's great. Okay, no, sorry. All right. So it's called The Language of the Glance. At the end of a long day, feeling heavy-hearted, the kind of mood that makes you question whether it's worth it to make dinner or whether you should just eat crackers, I put on a silent film called The Kid. When I was a kid myself, I wouldn't have believed I would ever watch silent films willingly. But as an adult, I wanted to be consoled, not distracted, and consolation hangs around in so many odd corners. I knew this movie would say what I needed to hear without saying anything. The Kid is one of Charlie Chaplin's best. A funny, beautiful story boiled down to the essentials. In the absence of audible speech, all that remain are a few words on screen cards, Chaplin's musical score, the characters' actions, and the looks on their faces. The looks struck me that night. With a glance, the actors communicate an entire experience, like ignorance, suffering, and most captivating of all, the shock of loving recognition. Chaplin wants to teach us the language of looks, and by it to bring out those dimensions of life against which we often shut our eyes. So first is the glance of ignorance. The premise of The Kid is both sad and ridiculous. A struggling actress gives birth to a son out of wedlock and, greatly conflicted, abandons him. After a series of mishaps, the child ends up in the care of Chaplin's character, the bumbling tramp. He raises the boy, John, to be his tiny partner in crime. John breaks people's windows so the tramp can charge to repair them. For all their misadventures, they're perfectly content. By the time John is 5, his mother has made it as an actress and visits the slums to help the needy. Her charity leads her to the very doorstep of the house where her son is living. Standing there, she cradles another woman's baby and is overcome by sadness at the memory of her own lost child. As she levels a pained stare at the audience, the door opens behind her. John strolls out and sits on the stoop. She turns around, notices him, smiles at him. You want to shout at her that he's right there. The pain in her eyes would be healed if those eyes were truly open. But after a moment, she leaves. Another glance of ignorance occurs in my other favorite Chaplin film, City Lights. There, the tramp falls in love with a blind flower seller who mistakes him for a gentleman. She hears the sound of a car door slamming right before she meets him. And in the 20s, you know, you'd be a wealthy man if you were driving a car. So she thinks he's a millionaire. He goes to comical lengths to rescue her from poverty, paying her rent and recommending an operation that could restore her sight. His escapades are successful, but land him in jail. Though the flower girl is perplexed by the disappearance of her wealthy friend, her sight is restored and she opens her own shop, finally free from want. One day, as the newly released tramp wanders the streets, he finds himself standing in front of her. His instinctive joy is met by her polite, pitying ignorance. After all, she's never seen his face. Noticing his rags, though, she offers him money, and now his joy is replaced with fear. Now, even to her, he's a beggar, as he always truly was. He tries to run away. That glance of the flower girl contains both ignorance and knowledge. She thinks she knows what kind of man this is, a beggar, but she doesn't know that this is the man she loves. Like anyone, the tramp doesn't want to be known as a kind of man, though far worse would be for her to know him, in particular, as a beggar. In both City Lights and The Kid, these stares of ignorance alert us to the barriers that remain between notice and recognition, between mere sight and true seeing. The second is a glance of suffering. A glance can also convey pain more succinctly than any conversation. In The Kid, the mother happens to attend the same party as the baby's father, her former lover. The audience sees the dreadful moment coming before it happens. She's having a good time, taking off her coat. She looks across the room. And then, unlike when she saw the child, she knows exactly whom she's looking at. His conflicted face mirrors hers, ashamed and bursting with unspoken thoughts. Later, we see them attempt a conversation alone. We're shown just 2 lines of written dialogue. Him. How may I atone for the suffering? Her. It's too late, unless the child... Somehow, it's all we need. And finally, the glance of recognition. If the first 2 glances of ignorance and suffering betray weakness, the last radiates beatific joy, the look of recognition. This is the look the mother gives John near the end of The Kid, after she learns his identity. When she walks into the police station and sees him on a bench, she's looking at the same boy she saw in the slums that day, but her gaze is fully absorbed in its object. Her happiness is invincible, even against the ignorance with which John still looks at her. The desire that has consumed her for years just to see the child is satisfied in contemplation. Go back to City Lights, to the moment where the tramp tries to run away from the flower girl. He doesn't get far. She makes him accept her offered coin and pats his hand reassuringly. And this act of charity opens the eyes of her soul to the truth. When she was blind, she knew him only by touch, and through touch she finds him again. Slowly, her face is changed by wonder. She feels his sleeve, his arm, and finally we see the tramp's face. Talk about a look of suffering. You can see now, he asks, biting his nails. Yes, she says, I can see now. And she holds his hand to her heart in total acceptance. Learning to look again. Silence for Chaplin is no obstacle to communication. It's an opportunity to learn a new language, one much older. Our true native tongue doesn't need a tongue at all. Chaplin knew this so well that he continued making silent films long after talkies became standard. What was a limit for other directors was his key to many mysteries. Yes, words are sacred, and I don't recommend replacing your conversations with staring contests. That seems like a good way to earn a restraining order. These films, however, isolate the strange, lovely parts of the soul that fly away when we open our mouths, the way birds do when we come too close. It's worth asking ourselves which of these glances we use with God. The last, loving recognition, is the prerequisite to wholehearted obedience. This was my attempt to tie this into obedience, which was like very late in the game. Got to the end, like, oh no, I didn't do anything about obedience. This is my Hail Mary path. All right, without it, we leave ourselves on the level of pawns working in bitter estrangement. The obedience God wants from us grows from some contemplation, always so limited, of his goodness. After all, we're destined to be locked eye to eye with him forever, perfectly known and loved. Until then, he calls us to look for him on earth, to scan the crowd for a loved face. Prayer, a farmer told St. John Vianney, is simply this: I look at him, and he looks at me. Often it takes an artist like Chaplin to make us look again. Thank you.